Thank God. What the? No, I don't want music in my video. Boy, this was an adventure getting uploaded. Hi, nobody here yet. Yep, nobody. That's fine. Totally late. Dude. Can't catch a break. Exploit wanted to update, and I updated, and now it wants to update again because apparently I missed an update. How I did that, I don't know, but whatever. So I'm gonna go ahead and start working on this set of wings, and y'all can start asking me questions. I'm just gonna work for, I don't know, half an hour to an hour, and you guys can ask me questions while I work. I'm not set up, by the way, so this is gonna be an adventure. First thing I gotta do is get my materials. This is like the least effective way of doing this because this is my computer. Whoop. There you go. No. Cool. All right. So let's get to the live chat. Yeah, if you have any questions, I'm gonna just start working. So the first thing that I need to do is create a pattern for my wing. The pieces that I have cut out are good for the hinging motion, but not so great for the actual size and shape that I want. So this is my framework, very similar to some of my others, or to some of my bat wings. You can see that the wing here is going to pivot on this point, and that's why it's called a single pivot. There'll be a central actuator here that is going to pull a string, basically, that's going to run along this here, go on through some pulleys, and then be drawn up and down via the actuator, and that's what's going to open and close the wing. That's the best design for what this person wanted. They wanted more of a Victoria's Secret type wing. So what I'm going to do is, it's probably going to sit right about there when closed. There's going to be a lot of fabric and stuff in there. Yeah, so somewhere in there. So I just want to get an idea of where the frame actually is. It sucks. Where the frame is going to sit. And then I'm going to draw the shape I want to create the framework, to create a viable framework to go and attach to this. So unfortunately, this does have to kind of stick certain parameters. and I can't change certain things too much. But where's my reference image? Alright, reference images. So where'd it go? There's too many reference images. Too many. Need to organize these. Alright. So, slight issue. I don't know. Photos. I don't know if this is gonna work. Well, do what you can. I think we can. So, I'm gonna have to bolster this out a little bit. I can do that. Just gotta leave room of a corner. And I can make it probably just out of fabric so that it doesn't, so it can bunch up or whatever. That should work fine. Where's my image? Open this image. Do it now. So this goes out quite a bit. Okay. There's a lot of fabric right there. So what I'm doing is creating a framework over the top of, I guess a lattice work over the top of my frame piece, which basically looks like this. And is roughly shaped like that. And what I have is I have a hole here and holes all along the frame to basically as anchor points for another piece that can go on top of it. So I need to wire a piece that will go actually I want it to come in like this. So that's basically the shape of that frame. And I need to, and I'll do some tie-ins somewhere in the middle. Keep it stable. out there. Okay. So, let's give that a try. See how it does. Hopefully, yes, I'm done. What do I want? Let me pull some feathers and see how it looks. Maybe. So these are some white pheasant feathers that I will be using for this set. I'm just double checking. Is my maximum length where I want it is basically down here. I don't want it to go any farther than the bottom of this piece of paper. So I just want to make sure that I'm getting the size I want out of this. If I need to bring it lower or even if I can bring it higher, because the more space you have underneath your wings, or between your feathers I should say, sorry, the better it's gonna look. So yeah, that's doing absolutely what I wanted to do. Super. So that frame will work just fine. Let's see if you guys have any questions yet. Nope. You guys can ask questions. I'll answer them. So now I'm going to move this piece. And I'm going to create the framework I just sketched. Well, would you look at this? All I have is 12 gauge wire, which is super duper easy to bend, and I need more stability. So I actually need to run to Home Depot. So instead of doing this part of the project, I think I'll work on the wiring and setting that up, unless there are any objections. Not that anybody's commenting. Where are you guys? Come on, chat with me. Maybe while we're in the garage, we'll find something. But I'm pretty sure I gave all of these. I work with subcontractors who help me make my wings now so that I can hold a real job while also making these. Also so that I'm not working all the time. What have I missed? I don't think you've missed much. How long have you been here? Alright. Well, that's bust. Ooh, unless I have some in my craft room. Rare though it is, genius does occasionally strike. Just got here, you having this much. So what I've been doing is working on a single pivot system. This is pretty much how it works. There's a central actuator that goes on here and attaches at these 2 points. I don't know if I'm going to get to that. I might get to it. My husband and roommate just went to go get food, so I'm kind of probably only going to be hanging out until then, unless I sequester myself in the garage and do electrical work. But basically, the way a single pivot system works is this whole framework is one piece, and then what happens is a pulley will pull down on this hole and open up that pivot point, thus opening and closing the wings. This is for kind of a Victoria's Secret-y looking set, and it's all feather, and I don't recommend multiple pivots on real feather wings. I recommend a single pivot, just because real feathers sliding over each other is bad. It tends to break them apart, and so the fewer joints means the fewer points where those feathers are rubbing over each other, and the less you have to try and figure out. So there's that. So I'll just go ahead and get the wire relatively straight to start. This is also kind of how I do my frameworks for static sets, is with this 9-gauge galvanized wire. And like down here, I don't know if you can kind of see this line that I've drawn. This is a wire frame that needs to go over this pivoting point. This is an experiment. See if I can even get this to work. And to be honest, I was having trouble with the vector file, and I had a short deadline. So in hindsight, you should have these pivot pieces should be on the outer edge. It shouldn't be pushing up anything. That should be the fulcrum point. It should be at the edge of that. But this is going to be extremely light. It's going to be, I think, the total weight of the entire thing, without the actuator and battery and all that, is going to be under 5 pounds. So the actuator is a 35 or 45 pound actuator, so it's fine. Even though the fulcrum point isn't where I want it. Is a single pivot in regards to your back brace tutorial, or is this simpler? This is, I don't know what was in my brace tutorial. No, the back brace tutorial where it has the kind of the 2 points on the back, that is part of a tri-pivot or a 2-pivot system. You can even make it, where 2 pieces come up and then another piece down, and then when it opens, it kind of flattens out and drops. And there's some applications where that would also be good, but for the most part, that is for a tri-pivot system. So there's a joint at the back, there's a joint at the elbow of the wing, and there's a joint at the wrist of the wing. This only has a pivot at the wrist, basically, where the shoulder and the elbow pivot are both just a solid piece of metal. So this is simpler in automation. Actually, it's simpler all around. This is a super simple system. Great for beginners. Oh man, is this hole not big enough? That's what she said. Is it big enough? It's not big enough. I will have to redo that. BRB, I'm gonna go drill something. Actually, no reason not to bring you guys along. First and foremost, let's detach this. Boop, and come on, eject. Boop. Have you used anything other than feathers on a 2 or 3 pivot system? I'm a little confused on how that system works in regards to moving feather. Whatever. Okay. Moving what all together? I don't understand the question. That does not mean I will not answer. I think my safety goggles are in the car. And Chris ran off with my car. Well then. Oh no, they didn't. I think they did. Alright. The metal pieces with the screw bolts holding it in place. Yes. Does it use a pulley system or does it base off of its own support? Okay, so yeah, it's a pulley system. There's a centralized actuator that basically just moves a rod up and down, and you tie strings to that rod. And when the rod pulls down, it opens the wing, and when the rod gives it slack, it goes back down. Hold on, I gotta find some safety goggles. Well, poop. I left them at work. So I get to wear the goofy ones. That's fine. Boop. So, what do I need? It's so loose. Got his balls out today. Alright. Alright. I don't know if that's enough. But we gonna find out. You are allowed to ask endless questions. No, like, ask questions. You're the one asking. Alright. Let's see if this works. Oh, sweet Jimmy Christmas. It's like 100 zillion degrees out today. I'm in Arizona, not 100 zillion degrees. It's like, I don't know, 105. It's fine. Hello, dogs. Get out of my way. Do, do, do. How do you best suggest testing a pulley system, and how do you string it together in? Just by threading it through the aluminum. Let me see if I have one set up. I have a very set. Hold up. So here's an open set that I use for demonstration. Okay, so of course I don't know where the clicker is. Also, this battery is dead. So all kinds of problems in my life, but let's see if I can open this. So you can see the back. So this is the clicker is right here. The battery is still dead. All right, well, my momentary elation is gone. Let's see. Let's see. So if you can see right here on the top of these fairy wings, and there's two, they're just kind of overlapping each other, so you can't really see. Those are attached to this like track actuator, and when this pulls down, these go like this, and when it lets up the slack, it goes back down. And if you, I don't know if you can see, there's this little metal bar that comes out. It's a little hoop, little eye ring or whatever, or eye bar. I don't know what they're called. And I just bent these. It's fine. Does that answer your question about how it's set up? I test the pulley system by opening and closing it 1,000 times and making sure that the wings are opening and closing at the same rate on either side. It's trial and error. And how do you string them together in the end? Just by threading it through? Yes, so like it's just through that little eye bar. Yeah, it's fine. It should dry heat. It's fine. I don't mind. But it's hot. Especially when my roommate like drags his car into the garage and then it just goes up another 20 degrees, so it's like, honest to God, like a solid 130 degrees in the garage sometimes. I'm back. Yes, so there's a hole all the way, where's my thing? So, two things to consider. These are a very light set, and originally this frame was actually for a, a bat wing set, and so super light. Like, the only thing it's holding up is fabric. So who cares? Oop, I'm gonna go down a little bit so you can see my project again. But yeah, so what this is there's a hole here, and that's the pivot point, and then the farther this is out, the more force or fulcrum you're going to have to open up these wings. So if you have really, really, like these weigh nothing, so I don't need a lot of space between these for the actuator to actually be able to hold this up. What you're looking at is your moment arm. And so your moment arm is like the amount of force necessary to open the wings. And that is not necessarily equal to the weight of the wing. Like this wing is going to weigh 2 pounds, maybe? But it's not 2 pounds of force necessary to open it. And the way I like to think about this is like if you hold a weight at your chest, you could hold it there all day, like 2 pounds, right? Or a pound even. Hold it here. You could hold it there all day. As soon as you extend your arm out, even just your arm, like try and hold it there for a minute, it weighs more. It doesn't actually physically weigh more, but the moment arm is greater. The amount of force necessary to hold your arm up here versus hold your hand or this weight right here is less than when you have to hold it out here. And so that's what you're looking at. So this point is where you're attaching, and this point that actually pulls the wings open needs to be farther and farther out the more and more weight you put on this. So something to keep in mind on a pulley system. But yeah, so like this, the rope goes all the way through and like ties on to this, and that way it has enough. It's not like glued or anything. Does the sleeve have to be made of a fabric, or would it work as multiple different pieces as well, such as foam parts, like in 3D bits, so across the framework? For a heavier wing, would you suggest using a different system? So not necessarily. It kind of, again, depends on how far out you're getting this fulcrum, and you can get a more heavy-duty actuator. You have to balance speed and weight force. So there's a 100-pound actuator that can pull 100 pounds. And that could work on my systems, honestly, because each wing requires about 30 to 35 pounds of force to open where I put them. And on the pulley system, I think, gosh, I feel like it only requires like, if I do it right and I put the fulcrum in the right place, I feel like it only requires like 25. But each wing does. And so then you kind of run into the issue of the actuator needs to have that cumulative force. So you would need, if it's 25, you need at least 50 pounds of force, and on a 40-pound system, it's not going to be quite enough. So you'd have to jump. I think the next one's like 100 pounds, which is totally overpowered. And I think, it would take, instead of I think this one's a 3-second open, or 2.5. I'd have to double check. And it depends on the load too a little bit, but it goes from like 2 inches per second to I think 1/2 inch per second or something like that. So you go from taking, over a track of 5, well, it's 5 inches total, but you might not need all 5 inches. So, math, it's going to end up to go over 5 inches. It's going to take 10 seconds to open your wings, which doesn't look as cool. So, not as cool as like shabam. So, besides which, though, if you're getting past to that point, though, they're going to be heavy. Super heavy. Yeah, for heavier wings, I use the 2 actuators. They just open faster. It's a little more reliable. And I don't know, it hides easier. This has like this big actuator on the back, and so you kind of have a little hunchback, which most people don't mind. Like the fact that your wings are opening and closing is cool enough, but only about 6 feet in length in total and 3 feet each. Do a central actuator, dude. Don't. It's fine. You can even do the tri-pivot system on a pulley system. It's fine. Because those ones weigh, I want to say, like with a central actuator, those would still only weigh like 15 pounds. Nice and refreshing after the hot day. The wings will be made out of plexiglass, though. Dude, are you the one that was asking about the plexiglass on YouTube? You can do it. It's gonna be hard. Please go in. Yes! Success! Alright. This makes my life so much easier. And now, for the fun part. Figuring out what the hell I'm doing. Did I do this backwards? Damn it. Everything's fine. I need electrical tape. Hold on. Yeah, some tension will be good. I see more questions, but my eyesight isn't that good. Give me a minute. Hindsight, I should have deburred this. I'm totally gonna slice a finger. That's alright. I don't need all of them. So, ow. Get out of here, pen. Alright. So, questions. Currently trying to figure out how to make the plexiglass move without catching on the aluminum frame, along with other parts, but I hope to have along with other parts I hope to have. Is that my dog? I hope that was my dog and not somebody lurking in my house. About 6 pieces of glass on each. So if you get them thin enough, it shouldn't be too bad. And what I would suggest is not... So plexiglass can be brittle in certain parts. So what I would actually do, personally, rather than making the pivot point the plexiglass itself, like anchoring the plexiglass along the frame, I would actually create like barbs of aluminum that you can even twist to get them, like I was telling you, I have nothing to demonstrate this. So if the frame is flat along this way, rather than having your plates flat where they're going to hit each other, you're going to, like a fan, like have them kind of, I'm way totally exaggerating right now, so that they like lay flat on top of each other, just ever so slightly like a fan, so that like they're slightly off, so that they'll stack. And you can do that if you have an aluminum barb that's the piece that attaches to the frame and swings, and then you can twist the bar a little bit at the base and then bolt in at least 2 places. The farther apart the better, but obviously you want to be able to cover it or whatever. But you can kind of bolt it in 2 places at least to hold it to that pivot point, would be what I would do. About 6 pieces of glass. I'll just think more. Have you tried to write movement and lights together before? And does it make it bulky? I think you mean wire. movement and lights together before? So I have not personally yet. It's on the list. I actually have a friend who wants to do Mercy, and she can't afford lights for the wings. And I'm kind of thinking, just because I want to do it, of buying the lights and doing it anyway. She can pay me back later, it's fine. But yeah, the lights themselves are going to add bulk to the glass because you need them to be, I think, at least 1/4 of an inch thick, or like 0.22, which is really, like, it gets heavy real fast. But I mean, if you're strong, you have good core strength, you could do it. It's probably, and again, it depends on how thick. It depends on a lot of things. If you do thin plexiglass, it's going to look great, and it's going to be nice and light and whatever. And one of the things you could do is, if you can just pop it open and switch them out, you could always do the lighter version one day, and then for like your cosplay extravaganza, just if you're competing in the masquerade or whatever, and only wear the 25-pound set or whatever for a couple of hours if you want, unless you just like being cool. Like me, I wear my 25-pound set days in a row and then have bruises. It's great. But yeah, lights, you can wire, the wiring itself is not that bulky. And like your actuator is not going to change. Your power source doesn't have to change, and your control board does not need to be all that much larger to accommodate the light board. So, does the actuator come with a battery supply? No, you have to buy a battery supply. I, in fact, I put away the fairy wings. I actually wire mine together. Like, I buy 2 7-volt batteries and then series them like a Frankensteinian battery. It works, and it's cheap. Like, the same lithium ion costs a lot of money, and it's less safe than the nickel hydride or whatever. You don't have to answer all these at once. I'm just typing as I think. Well, good for you, stream of consciousness. The current sketch has the wings being about 5 inches apart. You mean the feathers? You're doing Mercy. Excellent. Yeah, core strength. That's going to be key. Also, your tolerance for pain. Not really. You can make that. It's fine. I just didn't wear, like, I'm hardcore, and I will, like, I was wearing 1-inch straps, nude straps, with no padding, with all of the weight on the shoulder straps for a while before I learned my lesson. And I did it for 2 days in a row, 2 8-hour days. Worth it. I looked awesome. But yeah, now I wear pads. Old laptop batteries? No. Don't do that. 5 inches apart, I know what you're talking about. Those ones, actually, you could probably, it'll look great regardless of which one you do. But yeah, you could, and you can also, like, I've seen most of the sketches have, like, one of the feathers is something like 3 feet long. You could always shorten that up to decrease your moment arm and decrease the weight a little bit, and just kind of play with the proportion a little bit so it still looks good, but you're not dying. Or you could just, suffer. It's fine. But yeah, those ones actually I don't think even need to stack because they don't move a lot. And those ones are a great example of a central pivot look. Like, those don't actuate in multiple directions. Those just go weep, weep. So, I usually suffer with that cosplay. Yeah, that's what we do. Cosplay is easy. Cosplay isn't easy. Cosplay is not for the weak. Oh, this needs the right degree. 90 degrees. Get out here. What kind of pivot would be best? Then I'm trying to minimize the movement to save the glass. Your framework tutorial is 3-point pivot, what I've seen so far. Yeah, so that's what we're working on now, is this single pivot system. So, I mean, obviously the framework will look different for your purpose. Where'd my tape go? I'm hopeless. Where did I put the tape? Just had it. I give up. Holmes, what did you do with my tape? What do you have to say for yourself, sir? Yes, on my site, there's only 3 pivot so far. But that's what I'm working on this weekend, is this tutorial. So hopefully should have the video, well, the taping done this weekend, and then hopefully I'll have the video up next week. So, get my tape! Alright, get out of here. I actually do need to find my tape. Not under furniture. Boy, I'm a wreck. Hi, Berto. Hello. Come say hi. officially can't find my electrical tape. Well, that's a bummer. Guess we could work on the electronics. But seriously, what did I do with my electrical tape? I just had it. Yeah, no, I blame you. Don't wag your tail. Yes. With Marcy, I hope to get her wings to expand to full force, so single pivot could be more effective. Also, do you make them so that they can be transportable, like coming apart in the car or something? I didn't. I just covered it with paper because I'm a goober. So yes, the tri-pivot wings come apart at the shoulder joint. But I mean, they fit in my car, but I have a Ford Escape, so there's plenty of space. For smaller cars, for the Mercy wings, what you can do is make it so that those plates, the back plates, can come off, and you can even use a nylon butterfly lock nut to just screw it on by hand, and each one, the blades can each come pop off and then pop back on again when you go to con for long distances. Honestly, what I do is I just keep them together, because putting them together and taking them apart again is kind of a big pain in the rear. But I mean, if you don't have the room, then you don't have the room. You gotta pull them apart. Do what you gotta do. Dang it. So that finishes that. I just need my clippers, and then it's to the other side. You said you get the back brace and such laser cut, but you have the fairy wings hydro cut. Is there a benefit to one or the other? So those first fairy wings were hydro cut. Those were, the benefit to the laser cutting is it's just cleaner. Hydro cutting it creates a lot of burrs on the edges that can cut you really easily, and you specifically have to have a deburring tool to clean the edges off so that you don't cut yourself. Laser cutting, it's still a sharp edge, but you can just kind of buff it with, you can use a deburring tool. I do not own one. I really should buy one. But you can just use wool, or not wool, sorry, the steel wool, to get rid of the sharp edge. That's all you need with laser cutting. I don't use hydro cutting anymore unless it's my only option, and sometimes it is when the laser is down or something. So now it's getting warm in the house. I do not approve. first. Okay, come on. Quit being a pain. Okay, that is about what I want. I need to change this just a skosh. Fix this. I need to take this. I think I see a couple more questions. Give me a minute. Cool. As a first-time wing maker, do you have any basic suggestions? I'm not used to working with a lot of metal. My usual prop go-to is PVC and EVA foam. Lots of paint and sewing too. So my suggestion is seriously get into metalworking. It's super fun, and with aluminum, it's not as soft as PVC, obviously, but if you can work with PVC, you can work with aluminum. I think that a lot of people are afraid to start working with metal and aluminum because they think that it's like some big scary thing to work with metal. And I mean, it's a little scary, I guess, to weld and work with steel, but aluminum is soft and you use exactly the same tools that you use with wood. The only thing is, like, you need, like, the drill bits are roughly the same. You just go get the metal drill bits, and then you just go get the non-ferrous high bit aluminum blade for your chop saw, and it's easy. It's not as hard as you think. So this is very nerve-wracking and new territory. Yeah, and I mean, so if you have a hackerspace in your area, I'd go there and they will teach you. They will teach you the ways of working with metal and everything, and help you get over your fear with somebody that actually knows the safety concerns and they have the right tools, and you don't necessarily need to buy all your own stuff. And that's always a really great way to start, because they're super nice. So that's how I learned. Will you, or do you have any sleeving tutorials? Yeah, I did. I had spent, like, sleeves are really annoying and they're really hard to sew, and I spent an entire weekend filming, and then the data got corrupted, so that was fun. So yes and no. There is one on a corrupted little chip that I have, a little SD card. It's useless. So, yeah. Hackerspaces are basically community like garages, tool places with computers and programs that are awesome. It's less stable than I would like. Yeah, so basically a hackerspace is a community woodworking, metalworking, computer work, Arduino programming shop. They're all a little different. Some of them have 3D printers. In fact, most of them actually are probably going to have 3D printers. Let's be real. They'll have CNC machines, and they'll have a lot of tools a lot of people aren't going to be able to have, but want to be able to use. So there we go. That's better. And so that's where I went when I wanted to learn how to make wings, because I didn't know how to do electrical. I didn't know, and I wasn't planning on doing metal work, but that's where it ended up. And like, I didn't know how to program, so I learned C++, and they're just great community spaces for learning. There's usually lots of classes on how to do stuff. And where to start, safety, and how to use their tools. It's just all around awesome. Now, I have heard that some places they can be a little sketchy and people can get like super weird about the tools, but I mean, I have yet to be to a not cool hackerspace. And they have everything you need. There's a lot of really great resources for cosplayers there. And you can basically just look up my city hackerspace. Los Angeles hackerspace, whatever. Rip the SD card. Yeah, 2 SD cards. I don't even know what was going on. But I now have one specifically formatted for my, rather than formatting myself, specifically formatted for my, video recorder. And, yeah, so theoretically, knock on wood, this one will be fine. You get it. I don't know much of that, honestly. I have some bits of everything, but not enough to do anything with. Yeah, well, and that's the thing, is like, so my friends I'm the idea person. A lot of them, they like to build stuff, but they're not necessarily good at coming up with ideas. So I'm the idea girl. Like, I have all these ideas, but I have no idea initially how to actually make it work. And then me and, I have a friend who's an electrical engineer, and one who's a mechanic, and one who's a machinist, and we all get together and figure it out. And, just through the years, at this point now, I can program and do electrical work and machining and all that. Like, they've taught me. And so now I need their help a little less and less, but I still get their help because I love them. And they're fun. And working on projects together is way more fun than doing it by yourself. And I met them all at the hackerspace. I want more tape on this. Tape? Pippin? You're a loon. stable than I thought it would be up at the top. A little twisted now, though. Okay. So now. Well, now I have to draw the other side. What do you want to work on? What made you get into making this kind of stuff? Cosplay. Just wanted them. I'll do anything for a costume. It's dumb. Like, I wanted to cosplay something that showed my stomach and I lost 15 pounds. Like, didn't care before, but then I wanted to cosplay something, so I lost a bunch of weight. It's probably not good. Like, part of me wants to get a boob job. Not because I personally feel the need to have a boob job, but it would make cosplay easier, so only I don't have that kind of money. Or that kind of time. Also, I don't care. Yeah, goal cosplays. Like, here's the thing. I actually made a video about this. I haven't posted it yet. Don't be afraid to fail. Like, failure is a way of learning. Don't think of it as, like, when you fail, don't think, oh, I failed, like, I'm a failure, woe is me. Think, all right, learn something, moving on, try again. Don't do the dumb thing that I just did. You know, whatever. Failure is important. So, dive in, basically. Faking it is cheaper, though. Oh, yeah. Contour and water broth. Dude, you don't understand. There's, like, nothing. I mean, there's a little bit going on, but not. Like, I'm wearing a padded bra right now. It's bad. So, like, there's only so much padding can do when there's just not much to work with. Well, whatever. Like you said. Contour and water broth. I just have to wear things that, like, cover, and then I can pad the shit out of it. It's fine. It's when I've got to show the boobalist that it's a problem. I created my first entire sewn cloud just to have it rip midway through the con. Oh my god. Okay, I don't know if I have it here. God, I wish I did because I didn't fix it. Then I could show you. So I did a Morgana cosplay where not everything that could go wrong went wrong, but almost everything, and none of it happened on stage during the masquerade. It either happened before or after, but like I was about to go on stage and one of my wings, like one of the pins fell out that was kind of holding it from swinging. And this was the first set I ever made. They were awful. They were made of PVC. It was the worst. But like there was a pin, like they were able to flap, but then the motor like kept stripping, and so we had to just pin them. One of the pins fell out, so one wing was flapping around in the wind. The Arduino board, like some of the wires came loose, and so they weren't opening and closing, and then like 1,001 things went wrong. And so basically I used the battery and shorted them into this open, like half open position, because otherwise I'd never get anywhere. And the pin came out and it was flapping about. And so like somebody had zip ties and we managed to like zip tie it closed, which it snapped. Like I walked off stage and it snapped. And I was like, oh, thank God, at least they made it through that, because those would have tipped me over. And then one of the, I was wearing she has this armor bra. The armor bra I made out of Warbler. It was my first time working with Warbler, and it was fine. It was fine all day. And right before I was about to, my group was the next group to be called out to line up. I was just standing there breathing, and it snapped. And I mean, my bra, it's all one hard piece, and it was like, snap, whoop. And I was just like, no, oh God. I was like, what do I do? And everyone was like, oh man, let's get to the bathroom. Here's a t-shirt. God, I love the cosplay community. And one of the girls brought me a t-shirt, and we went over to the bathroom, and I was almost in tears at this point because my costume is all over the place. And went into the bathroom, put on the t-shirt, and came out, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And some guy was like, I have a multi-tool, and we drilled the holes in it and then laced it with somebody's shoelace. I don't even remember. I don't know if I ever want to wear that cosplay again, just because it was the worst. But yeah, but I went on stage, and apparently I looked everybody was like, dude, you look so pissed off. And I was like, I was actually just trying not to cry. And they were like, you look dope, it's fine. And I won second place, and I was still a novice at that point. Boy, that was a while ago. But yeah, and I still won second place, which I shouldn't have because everything was breaking. But I would not have even been able to get up there if it weren't for the cosplay community being like, I've got I've got a shoelace, I got tape, let's do this. And we just fucking zip tied me together. It was fine. Yeah, Morgana from League of Legends. But, that was actually the costume that I lost 15 pounds for. Yep. I actually don't like doing costumes that show my stomach. I just like the people that wear costumes that show their stomach. She's your dream. I know, right? She's freaking awesome, but she also has a teeny tiny waist, which I don't. Even if I lose, even at my best, I don't have a teeny tiny waist because I've got linebacker ribcage, which is fine, whatever, but also cosplay. Why you make it hard? I'm gonna drill these. I'll be right back. Oof. Yeah, they do. Everybody's back. So I gotta clean up so that we can have people over. But it was fun chatting with you. I try not to look too much on it, but if I do non-stomach showing once, I usually do a corset. Dude, I have to corset up. It's the only way I get a waist. Alright. Well, I'm gonna go, and hopefully you guys found that somewhat informative while I crafted. But I will have way more information on the single pivot tutorial once it goes up. And I don't know, let me know on Patreon if you enjoyed this. I realize I got nothing done, but if you like chatting with me while I work, let me know on Patreon, and let's see if we can get this done more often. Anyway, gotta go. Bye.